Getting started. Thank you, Sharon, for recording the meeting. Yay, I was going to space it. She so takes care of me. Getting started with WordPress. You probably got an email or should have got an email just a little bit ago that looks something like this. We'll talk about it in a little bit. You didn't have to do these steps to start with, but this is your username, where you reset your password and the login address, because I've set up a class website and made everyone an individual page so that you have a page you can practice on when we get to that point. So the first part is going to be a little bit about how websites are set up in general and how they work. Then we're going to build a WordPress website, and then we're going to get you guys set up to be able to edit your own page. Please feel free either in the chat. Sometimes I miss the chat. Sharon really, it helps me watch out for that if you have a question, or just unmute and ask the question. So for any website to be live, you have to have your site, obviously, and to build it, you have to have some kind of platform. Those platforms are WordPress, Shopify, Squarespace, Wix. There's a lot of other ones, and you could write all the code, but I'm really just joking about writing all the code because that would be nightmarish even if you're a coder. So that's what you need to build your site. To be able to actually see your site, you have to have a domain name. That's the address where it's found. And you have to have a place to put it. That's your hosting service. So a little bit about domains. When you register your domain, or this is what actually your domain is, it is your business name, whatever that is, .com. Make it relevant to you and your business. It should be easy to recall, short as possible, and it should have some searchability and thinking of what people may be searching for in a Google search. It could be a .com, a .org, a .net, etc. We're not going to go into that in detail, but there's some other things that we could learn about that if we wanted to talk about them. When you register a domain, it's a pretty handy idea to set it to auto renew, because I could tell you horror stories about people who, oh, I forgot to renew my website, and there are unscrupulous characters out there that keep track of those things. One gal that I work with regularly had to buy her web address back for $500 just to get it back because she didn't renew it. So auto renew is a pretty good idea. When you register it, privacy, it's a good idea because that prevents spam and phishing and scams, because if you don't have the privacy engaged, and it costs $15 a year, all of your personal information that you have in registering your site is free for the entire world to see if they know where to look for it. And most importantly of all, and I cannot emphasize this enough, register it with your information, your name, your payment information, and have all of the login information that goes with that, because there again, recently a guy called me, can you help me with my website? The long and the short of it was, the man that built it initially registered it with his information, and this particular artist basically lost his website and had to start over because he couldn't get in touch with the man that was doing all of the work for him. He refused to call him back, answer, and he'd had the website for about 20 years. Anyway, when you register it, make sure it's with your information. And I can't go over how important that is. Okay, onward, domains. You may have heard of domains and subdomains, just to give you an idea what the difference is between a domain and a subdomain. A domain would be www.yourbusiness.com, and you own that. Your business is the owner. A subdomain could be something like yourbusiness.wix. If you do this, Wix owns that. If you were to set it up with me, I would own it. But you could also set it up one with yourself if you needed a subdomain, and I'll show you a little bit about those later on. The most important part is whatever is before the .com, that's who owns and who has ultimate control over that website. So you actually want a domain and not a subdomain for your business site. Hosting service. This is the place where your website will live so the whole world can find it. These are just a few of the reputable ones: HostGator, GoDaddy, SiteGround, InMotion, Bluehost. And when you go to look for hosting service, all of them will allow you to have one site, some multiple sites. Most will allow subdomains. You do want to see if they offer a free SSL. All of these do. If you were to go to Shopify, Squarespace, Wix, etc., they provide their own hosting service, and you can use your own domain with these. Several years ago, I would have said Shopify, Squarespace, and definitely Wix. I would really stay away from them, but they have come a long way in the last several years. And Shopify and Squarespace, I have recommended those to a few people because of what they were doing and wanted to do with their site. I'm still not completely comfortable with Wix, though. I personally would stay away from it, but it might be a place to start and play with a site. So how all this stuff works together. So you've got your domain now at www.u.com. And when we type that in a browser, if it's registered and hosted with HostGator, yay, you're connected, because this goes to where is it registered, who's got it hosted. HostGator has both, and yay, you're connected. One extra step, if you don't do them in the same place, type it in the browser. Oh, it's registered with HostGator, but it's hosted at InMotion. So you just have to add an extra step of saying, go to InMotion for the site, and then, yeah, you're connected there. Either way is not a big deal. It's just one extra step if they're not hosted and registered at the same place. So now you've got a domain and we've got hosting service set up, and we're going to do all of that in a little bit. So now we need to build the site, and we're going to look at the platform. So to build a WordPress website, you obviously need WordPress. Sitting on your hosting service, we will need a theme. That's the basic design of it, or the structure rather, excuse me. It's the structure of it. And then a template, which is how it looks. We'll also need some plugins. These are add-on extra things. Templates are actually plugins, as well as the builder. We'll talk about that more in just a sec. We need to have some security in there. And then there are other things like if you have the shop, search engine optimization, image compression, and several other things. So the builder that I mentioned, it's what really makes WordPress work so much easier. And I would highly recommend that you use a builder. Trying to build one without it, you can give it a try. It's a lot more complicated and more frustrating. You can do a lot more with that. So today we're going to build with the Elementor builder and use a template that works really well with that. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to register a domain, get hosting service, install WordPress, have a look at the WordPress dashboard's general settings and some of the common tools. We're going to install Astra, the theme. And then for plugins, we're going to get a couple templates. We're going to install the Elementor builder, the SSL security, probably a couple other plugins depending on how much time we have. Get Elementor installed. Then we're going to set some settings and build a page. And then I will show you how you can log into your page on our site. And before class is over, I would really love to discuss with you guys some of the things that you feel are important or you would like to learn more of that we can take with us to class next week. And then next week, we'll do a review, talk about menus, widgets, some more plugins, and whatever cool things that are important to you guys to look at. So with all of that being said, any questions on any of that before we hop on over to start registering a domain name? Okay. let me get my other browser window open. Okay, so I am going to use HostGator to show you how this works. This is hostgator.com. And we're going to start by looking at, you can either get hosting with them. If you want to register a domain name and you're not ready to build your site, you can go here and register a domain name. All of the other major hosting services are similar, where you can register domains and get hosting. Their front page is going to look a little different than this, but it basically operates the same way. We're going to go through this fairly quick because any of these places that you can get hosting service that are the big reputable ones, they really have good how-to videos on how to register your domain name and secure hosting with them. So when you choose one, you can go look at their video if you have trouble, but it's really a pretty easy walkthrough process. So we are going to get started.
We have
Yes.
a question in the chat that says, you said we can download, but Debbie says she cannot as she's at work. So she'll just need to watch.
But I can't. Oh, okay. Watching Debbie is just perfect right now because I will send you all the information that everybody that we'll talk about. You can watch everybody do it. We're not going to actually do it together in class. So it's going to be a watch it, then you get your information, and then you can practice it throughout the week. Did that answer that question? Okay.
Yes, it did.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're back at HostGator. These are different plans that they offer. We only need a single site. So we're just going to say, buy it now. When you get to choose your domain name, this is where you would type that in. If you already have one, you would use this tab, I already own a domain. So whether you're just registering our domain or registering it with hosting, as we're doing now, you would type in, let's see, KJ Canely 2. So let's say I wanted to register the domain kjcanely2.com and click .com because there are options on the drop down, and it says, yay, you get it free for 1 year with this particular package. They also want to try to sell you all of these other .com, .site, .net, on and on. I don't want any of those. This is the domain privacy that I mentioned that was in one of the slides. I do want that because I don't want my address, my email address, my physical address, my mailing address, and my phone number public. So that's why I choose to pay the $15 a year for this. The hosting package type, those were the 3 types that we looked at just before this page. We want the hatchling. And yes, I would say if I'm really serious about this site, I'm going to go for it for the 36 months because I get such a really nice discount. Maybe you want to go for 12 and then renew it at the end of the year. Create your hosting account. This is where you put in your email, your password, and your PIN number. It's really important to remember these things, especially your password, as well as your PIN number. Your password is going to be how you log in. Your PIN number will be needed if you ever have to call tech support and ask for tech support. They're going to ask you for your PIN number. Then you go through all of your billing information like you do on anything else. Additional services, of course, they want to give us all kinds of other things to add on. This is one in particular for HostGator. I don't personally feel like it's really needed, even though they say they highly recommend it. Personally, I don't ask for this additional backup because I back up my sites individually with a free plugin. I'll show you that next week. And if you're comfortable using that, you wouldn't need this backup. Here's all my order details. For the total, I've got $121, and then I would go through the checkout process. Because I don't really need a new site, I'm not going to go through the checkout process. I'm going to jump over to what you would see once you get an email from HostGator that says, welcome to HostGator, here's your name and password. Here's your login, and let's see, I've got a screenshot of that. Hang on, and I'll show you that screenshot of what that email will look like. I can find it. Where did it go? Screenshots. Okay. You will get an email that looks similar to this. It might be from Quick Install, it might be from Softaculous, but check through your junk mail and spam just in case your email does put it there. These are the things that are really, really important that you keep. Otherwise, you can't get back into your site. So the URL of the site, that's my address. The admin password, the username, and the password. So you're going to see that in an email after you do all of that login information. And actually, that was the WordPress one. I jumped ahead by one. Okay, I'll show you that one again in a minute because that was the WordPress login. Okay, once we get our HostGator login and log into our HostGator panel, now we can set up WordPress on the URL, the domain that we just registered. Now, did that make sense? Because I went through that kind of fast. Yes, we will set up an SSL certificate. There's a free one that we will use. So what we've done so far was I pretended to get a domain name. And now that I got that pretend domain name, HostGator is going to send me an email. Here's your login information, and this is where you will end up. If I wanted to look at that domain name, I could go here. But to set up WordPress, we need to go to the cPanel. So you click on the cPanel control. And again, if you go to any other ones other than WordPress, it'll look maybe a little different, but you'll still be able to find the cPanel. I'm going to log in because I've already logged into there a bunch of times. It's already got my password. I don't have to put it in there. And now it's going to my customer control panel. Once I get here, and this first part sometimes looks a little bit overwhelming of going through all of this, but you only have to do this one time. So don't feel overwhelmed. You only have to do this one time. There's a lot of help videos out there. And if you get really stuck, I'm happy to help you as well. So what we are going to do now in the process of this, we're going to install WordPress. And it is called Quick Install because we want to make it really super simple and easy. If you don't see Quick Install, no matter what cPanel you're using, and most of them look similar to this, you can type in install, and it's going to bring up the software that has the word install in it. There's Quick Install. I'm going to click that, and it brings up the installer. Scroll down a little bit and say, I want to install WordPress. And of course, they want to try to upsell me. No, let me install WordPress. Once we get here, it says, where is the domain that you want to install WordPress at? And I set up a whole bunch of websites in the process of doing all of this, so I want to make sure I got the right one. Click here. These are a lot of things that I've already got on mine. You'll probably see only one on yours. I set this up as a subdomain so I could walk you through this whole process. So I want to install, this is the place I want to install WordPress. That's my domain. Don't need to put anything else here. Going to need to put an admin email. The blog title, that's going to be the title of your site. So I'm going to put class project. You can change this later if you would like. KJK, I'm going to use for my username, KJ first name, last name, and ask it to install WordPress. So it's in the process in the background of installing WordPress. And no, I don't want you guys to install it for me for $39. It's not that big of a deal to do. Now we go back to that email. And this is the email that you would then get from WordPress or from Quick Install saying, hey, you've installed this. That's really cool. Save your username and password, and then you can log in to your website. Now we're going to get to the fun stuff here in just a little bit once we get all this background stuff done. And again, you know, some of it looks a little bit on the intimidating and overwhelming side because it's kind of a lot. It's not that difficult. But it's, you know, you only have to do this part once. I'm going to go ahead and close this tab. And I'm going to open up a new tab. This is where I would put in my URL. So I'm going to go over here and copy it. Paste it in there. That's the address that I need to go to. And it was wp-admin. Once I get here, I can put in my username, KJK. I'm going to go back to the information that I saved from that email, copy my password, put it in here, and click login. And I did something wrong. But that's okay. I've got myself a backup here because I thought, oh, there's a possibility that I'll miss something along the way. So let's try this one more time. And I may have done those things too many times. KJK for, oops, I've got the wrong one here. No wonder. Okay. That was 11. That's 12. That's, hang on just a sec. Okay. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Once you log in, and I did this just in case I did something like this. Once you log in, this is where you're going to be. So if I'd actually put the right address in there and logged in, it would take me to this page, which is where you land to start with once you have WordPress installed. And any questions? Looks like we're doing okay so far. Okay. This is your WordPress dashboard. You have a menu across the top, a menu across the left-hand side, and then you have a variety of stuff scattered all down through here, some of which we need, some of which we don't. So real quickly to run through this, this is where you could add a new post, new media, such as images, new page, users, or forums. And no, I don't want to add a new post. I clicked on it. Okay. Caching, that's how things are saved. Some of these things are going to disappear when we get rid of some of the plugins that we don't need. This is a place to pay attention to. This says currently I have 2 updates that I need to do. I installed all of this a couple hours ago. This is the general part of your, let me back up real quick. Right here, this is the WP class that we set up. If you want to view the site to see what it looks like at any time, you can click this. And right now, this is what our website looks like. A long way from where we're going to be in the next 30 minutes. So I'm going to back up. Updates when we need to get there. These are some, this is a plugin we'll probably delete in a bit. Post media, the library where you put images, PDFs, etc. This is where you look at all of your pages. Comments if you have a blog. We're going to skip down to appearance. This is where we select the theme that we want to use. We select the theme we want to use, customize it, set up widgets if we want to, in the menus. Plugins, we're going to use several of those. This is where we add them and use them. And users, this is where I set up user accounts for all of you guys and some settings that we'll look at. One thing that I would like to point out where you see theme editor, anytime you see the word editor behind anything here where it's theme editor or a plugin editor, that's where you go to the code in the background. They're really nice about putting a pop-up window there that says, do you really want to do this? And it gives you the chance to say, no, I made a mistake. I don't really want to do this. This is what that looks like. Heads up, you're about to really make some mistakes if you really don't know what you're doing. Good idea to go back because that's where you get into all the code. Okay, with all of that being said, the next thing we're going to do is look at plugins. The reason we're going to look at plugins before we install the theme that we're going to use, which is a little bit backwards, but I found that some themes don't play well unless you have your security logged in set up first. So I'm going to scroll down where I can see a list of all of these plugins. Some of them are strange, like Hello Dolly. That's something somebody started when WordPress first started. And we are going to deactivate all of these plugins because we have to deactivate them to be able to delete them. Come on, submit and deactivate. You can do this. Okay, there we go. Jetpack, deactivate. And this process takes a little while. We're going to leave WP Forms Lite on there. We're going to be using it, but while we add our security, we are going to deactivate it so it doesn't cause any conflicts. And then I'm going to select all of these that we'll leave that one. I'll give you a list of plugins later, so don't worry about this right now. I'll show you the plugins that I use. So all of the ones that I checked, I want to delete. And yes, I want to delete all of those. So it should leave us with 2 plugins. And now we want to add that SSL that you guys asked about. Thanks for that question, Renee. And this is the site security. You see right now, this says that our site is not secure. And you see most sites have a little lock there. So to get that security installed, there's a really cool little plugin, and I will stick that in the chat. Really simple SSL is the name of it. I will also send you guys notes. So on upload plugin, but we want to search for a new plugin. And even if you just type in security, and it's going to search for security plugins. And of course, that one's going to be way down there. So I'm going to type in SSL. Let's see if we can get there quicker. There we go, really simple SSL. A couple things to notice about plugins when you are using them. This says that 6,990 people have rated this, and its overall rating is a 5-star. It has 5+ million active installs. That says that it's a pretty darn good plugin. It was last updated 3 weeks ago, and it is compatible with the version of WordPress that we have installed. Now compare that, for example, to maybe something like this one that's a free SSL also. It doesn't have nearly as many ratings, not as many active users, and a huge thing. 6 months ago was when it was updated last, really not good, and it has not been tested with our version of WordPress. I would definitely not use a plugin that had this kind of information with it, because you have the potential to have some issues. Okay, back to really simple SSL. We are going to say install now and activate. Once that is activated, we now see it in our list of plugins. And like I said, I will give you guys a list of plugins. The only other one I am going to install I'm not even going to bother with that one right now. This is the most important for right now, to get the really simple SSL in there. What I really want to make sure we do is get to the page building part so that you guys can get logged in and work on your pages over the rest of the week. The next thing that we are going to do is install the Elementor Builder. And I struggle with that word every once in a while. So we are going to search for the plugin called Elementor. Oops, okay. Good thing to point out, I am looking for it in my active plugins. No wonder it can't find it. I need to add a new plugin. And now if we type it in here, here's our Elementor website builder plugin. And notice again, the reviews, updated 6 days ago, compatible with WordPress. It gets used a lot, so it's going to be a good plugin. So we're going to ask it to install and activate. This is a pretty cool tutorial that they have. We're not going to take the time to watch that, but when you set yours up, that's a good thing to do. Or you can go to Elementor's website and set it up. Now you'll notice that in our menu on the side, we have Elementor added over here. And this is additional information about it. So we're going to go to Elementor now and go to settings, because there's a couple things that we want to change here before we add our theme. And in settings in general, disable default colors. Checking this box will disable Elementor's default colors so we can use our theme colors. And we want to do that both for the colors and the fonts, so that if we find a theme that we really, really like, we want to use those colors and not what Elementor has set for it. So we're going to click Save Changes there. Okay, we've got those changes saved. And then the next thing we're going to do is install our theme. Themes are under Appearances. So we're going to go to Themes. And like I said earlier, with getting your domain and your password, this is a one-time thing that you have to do. Close these tabs, so that'll help that a little bit. This is a one-time thing that you have to do. You don't have to do this over and over and over. So these are a variety of themes that you can add, but we want to add one that is called Astra. And I've already searched for it, so it remembers that I searched for it. So I'm going to say Astra. No theme found. Why did that do that? And I did it again. Add new. I've got to add a new theme called Astra and not look for the ones I have. Okay, and click Astra in here. And here is our Astra theme. We're going to click Install. Thought this was pretty cute. Somebody tried to add an L on it so they could get really close to Astra, because this is a really popular theme. And we are going to activate it. Just like we did the plugins, we're activating this theme. Once this theme is activated, let me show you a couple theme details here. This is where you can find out information. We're going to go to Astra Options. Questions?
AJ?
Yep. Yeah. Do you have to have a theme? Oh, yes, you do have to have a theme. Otherwise, you're going to be writing a whole lot of code. So yes, you have to have, it's basically the structure that WordPress says, I want to use this structure to build this website. Otherwise, you're going to have to write code or find another way to have that structure there. Good question. Thanks for asking that. I'm going to back up. Let me back up one here. Okay, we've got Astra installed. These are options, menus, and widgets. We'll talk about those a little later. But now that we've got the Astra theme installed, we want to customize it a little bit. Oh, wait a minute. Options, sorry. We're going to options. And then we get to customize it because we want to add a template. So you have themes and templates that go into this, and we are going to add a template. So there's all kinds of starter templates that you can use. but we're going to install the importer plugin so we can pick one. And it's activating it. And again, this seems like so much is going on, but you only have to do this part one time. We're using the Elementor theme. So we want to find something that works with this. And these are all the themes that we have to choose from. And this is what makes using a builder and choosing a theme easy. Because let's say, this is the one that we're going to use. I'll come back to that one in a minute. This one actually has WooCommerce attached with it. So it says, this is what your homepage will look like. You can scroll through and look at it. This is what your about page will look like. And this is what your contact page could look like. Now you can edit all of those things. So we're going to install this theme called Mountain. And we want to import the entire site. So we're going to say import the entire site. A couple questions. I'm a WordPress beginner. It's the site for myself. Next. Blah, blah, blah. This is going to take a little while. So we're going to jump ahead and I'm going to show you where I already have that installed so we didn't have to wait on it. So this is the same thing that's going on just like we did, but I've already got it installed. Now if we go to our practice site and look at what things look like, there's the theme that we just installed. It's a far cry from what we looked at to begin with. Any questions so far? Please throw them out there. Okay, at this point, we basically start editing. If we need to see our dashboard again, it's right here. So I'm going to go to Pages, All Pages, to give you an idea of what pages look like. These are all the pages that's set up in this theme that are currently there waiting for us to edit. So we are going to go to the home page and select Edit with Elementor. I'm going to pop that up on a new tab just so I have this sitting here open anytime I want to use it. That's just kind of a work method that I like to use. So this is going to open in the Elementor builder. And here are some really cool options for this builder. We have elements that we can add in here. And one of the really nice things is this is kind of a WYSIWYG, what you see as what you get website builder. So if I want to start editing text, when I click on this text that's in this blue box, you can see it pop up on the side here. If I were to click this text that's in this blue box, you'll see it pop up on the side here. You'll notice that wherever I hover my mouse, this blue box is going to change. And right now you can see the blue box around this entire section. If I wanted to change this image in this entire section, I would go up here. And if you let your mouse sit really still, it pops up this little edit section versus add a new section if I wanted to change this image. So let's just go ahead and do that. I'm going to click edit section and it says, oh, let's edit this section. The layout is kind of the structure of the thing, the way it looks. The style is what we want to change because we want to put a new picture in there. So we click on style and then go down to the image that's here. If we just click on this image, it has opened up a pop-up that says insert media. We can upload files or we can pick from things that are already in the media library, but chances are we want to upload files that that we have for our image. So I'm going to grab a couple files from our WordPress class site. And where did I put all of those slides info? Let's see. Other research, I lost them. Way to go, KJ. Okay, we'll pick a different image then. That's embarrassing. Images. We're going to use a random river image. So now this river image is importing into our media library. These are all the things that were in there from the template, and we can get rid of those when we get to the point where we don't need them to see what the structure looks like. And now we have this river image. We'll talk about this stuff at another time if we have time next week. I'm going to say, select it. Yes, I want to use that image. Insert the media. And now we've changed the image from the one that was there to the image that we want to use. To change text, I'm going to click on this text. And you can either type it here or over here. Sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge to get your cursor in the right place here. So I'm going to type in sample class site. And let's say I want to change the size of the text. That's over here also. And if you want to change the styling of it, let me back up just a sec. If you're familiar with H tags, these are pretty important when you're looking for search engine optimization in our H tags. This is an H2 versus H1 all the way down to paragraph. We'll talk about that a little bit next week as well. Let's say we want to change the color of that text. Up here in style, here's our color. This is probably going to look kind of gaudy, but I want to just change it to show you how it works. And maybe I'll go with something a little bit on the blue side to go with the image. Whoops, back to style, open that title again. If I wanted to change the typography, so I want to change the font family. Maybe I wanted it to be, let's find something that looks completely different so you can see that change. And that's the way you would change any of the text throughout here, by selecting the section that the text is in and going to the editing area and changing either the content or the styling of that particular text. These are buttons, so they're slightly different. If I click on one of these, then the difference that we have here, we can change the styling if we want to also, but the content on this is where you put in the link of where you want that button to actually go to. You can still change the type, you can change the word that goes in here, etc. Whether it's left aligned, center aligned, the size of the top, but most importantly, if you want to put, for example, this Zoom ID, not that we would really want to do that, but that's where we would copy and paste that in there. I don't want to save that, so I want to pull that out. Once you get your updates done, click Update. And we'll show you a couple other really cool things about how these updates are done. This particular page has links that you can add here, images, text that are set up in different columns, and you see the difference in this is 3 columns. Look at the blue line around here, and in that blue line are 3 columns. The section below it has 2 columns in it. So you have sections, and in each of those sections have individual columns in them. Some more information, more pictures that you can change out or delete altogether. Suppose you didn't want this call to action. Just say delete, and it's gone. But, oh man, I deleted it and I really didn't want to. There is a history. So you can go back and go, oh, I removed it, but I didn't mean to. Let's back up one step. And it's back again. And you can go back several steps on this history. The other thing that's really cool in using Elementor, let me scroll up to about here, is a navigator. Come on, navigator, where did you go? Hello, there it is. Okay, it's just running a little slow. This navigator is everything that's on this page. Remember I mentioned that you have sections and columns? So let's say I select this section and this image. Select. And if I select this heading, it said, yep, here it is right here. Or if I select this column, it says, yes, this is the column you're talking about. Let's say I want to trade places with this column and this column. I want this picture and services too over here for whatever the reason. I simply grab that column and drag it to above this one, and they trade places. And the same thing with any of these others. Here's text, and there's a button. Let's say I want this button, so I select the button. I want the button on the top. I take the button and I drag it up to the top. So that's the very, very basics, and we only have like 9 minutes left, and I'm sure some of you are probably going to have to go. So here's where we are going to go next. This is the website that I built for the class. And at the very top of this, some idea was helping small businesses. These are some changes that I made into with it, playing with it a little bit. But the thing that I really want to point out to you now is over on practice, you will see that there are 7 or 8 pages here. And Debbie, I will add one for you. Each of these pages, let's just look at Saren's page. Each page is a page with all kinds of stuff on it. I'm going to close this so my browser works a little bit smoother. Each of these pages, and you'll see Sharon's initials here, practice and promotion page. When Sharon logs in, when she first logs in, she'll be at the dashboard that looks like this. You will go to all pages after you log in. We'll get you here. You'll find your page that has P for practice and your initials behind it, and then hover over Edit with Elementor. Now I've got 2 of those tabs open. And this is just a page that I built with all kinds of stuff on it to give you a variety of things to practice. So there's titles that you can change. This is some directions on how you can build a brand new page with a template. You may want to try this, maybe not. You may want to just try playing with all of this to change the images, to change the text, actually put links in those buttons. There is a send me a message, a contact page information on the bottom. There's an FAQ that you can play with. So the whole point of doing all of this was, instead of just running through all of this stuff so fast, because there is so much of it, I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to actually practice and play with some of these things. So do you have any questions about this at this? Well, let me back up one more. Sorry about that. Once you get here on your page, say Edit with Elementor. And this is being recorded, so we can go back to it. Come on, there we go. And this is the same page editing area that I showed you earlier. Questions? That was so much to go over in 55 minutes. It was just flying through it. But remember, the first part that we went through, you only have to do once. When you get to this part, it's the fun part. and you're set to go. So everyone with the exception of Debbie should have login and password. Debbie, I will send you one as soon as we get off of this, plus build a page for you to practice on. Questions? No questions? Okay, one other thing that I would like to ask you guys, and either please type it into the chat or just unmute yourself and shout it out. What do you want to use WordPress for? And what kind of things would you find that you might want to use more within WordPress? Do you need an image gallery? Do you need to share basically information? If you can give me some ideas, do you need a store? We're not going to have time to do that, but I can show you the basics of where you would start with WooCommerce next week. So I'd love to know what else you would like to learn and what you might need WordPress for. And I hope I have not completely overwhelmed you guys. Okay, that was fast, but you don't have any questions. Debbie, it does look kind of overwhelming because we went through it so very fast. All the setup part, you only have to do one time. Once you get your domain, your hosting set up, once you get WordPress set up and ready to go with your theme and your templates, from that point on, you're in here building. And the building part is much easier, although it does get frustrating sometimes, than all of the initial setup part. Fast, but don't think I have any questions. Will you be able to go over adding a calendar to a website so I could book appointments? I don't know that we will have time to do that. If we do, it'll be a plugin. So that's where you would find that. If you wanted to add a calendar to your website, you would go to plugins, add new, and type in calendar. But you got to spell it right. And then look at calendar plugins. Using WordPress for multiple personal businesses. I would love to learn a little bit about the commerce site. Would recommend shop instead for online. That's a really good question, Becca. Shopify and Squarespace have really come a long way. The differences that you will run into, building is going to look a little bit different than this. Shopify and Squarespace will probably cost you a minimum of $25 a month. WordPress will probably cost you $10-ish a month, plus the $14 a year for your security. You'll just have to look at those numbers and see what differences it makes, because with WordPress, you have to install the plugins and you have to keep things up to date. When you use Shopify or Squarespace, they do that for you, and it's really kind of handy. To assist businesses with creating websites, if you were wanting to create one. What's that, Saren?
Oh, just to assist businesses, like if a business was to come to us at the SPDC and we're saying, oh, I want to create a business, I'd be able to kind of lead them in the right direction and understand.
Yes, Saren could really help you. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know if you guys have done it or not before, Saren, but, you know, that we could do a 30-minute class on what to look for and how to choose a website or a website platform. Debbie, you have a website that was converted from a different program, but need to fix it. Yeah, it's going to depend on how it was built and what it was converted to and what you have now to figure out the easiest way to get something new if you actually need something new. I would be glad to take a quick look at that for you if you send me the URL. And you do have my website, my email address. All of you guys should have my email address. Any other questions? So just for a couple minutes, if you don't, and please continue to either shout out questions or, oh, okay, so choosing a platform would be helpful. And if Sarah needs help figuring that out, if you're not familiar with those, Sarah, let's talk about that. And then we'll go from there on helping you guys choose a platform. Let's see, Debbie, I'd love to have, because the main reason I want to learn, love to have a look at different platforms. Do you mean, Debbie?
No, just have you look at my
Yes.
site.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't reading correctly. Yes, I will be glad to look at your site and see what kind of options.
Help me. I've been trying to get somebody to help me with my site for 5 years. And
So
nobody.
it might be an older one, and maybe that's the problem, and it might be time to build a new one. So let's look at it and then look at your options.
Okay, because it was done. I'll tell you how old this site was. I took a class in Front Page and built it from that.
Oh yeah.
And
Okay.
I had,
and it's probably great at that.
Over 1,000 pictures on that site. And I didn't want to lose and all the historical data and all of that.
Right.
And she converted it and just made a hell of a mess out of it.
Oh no. Okay. Debbie brought up a really good point. And let's see if I still have that. If you have something like Debbie has, and I'm going to go back to HostGator and log in real quick just to show you guys real quick. Sign in. Everybody, no matter what kind of website you have, who built it, etc., etc. This is the hosting service for some of the sites that I have. And no matter how your site is built, you are going to have, either you or whoever built the site is going to have access to what is called a file manager. So in that file manager, here's the website that we just built. This is all the content that we just uploaded. These are all of the uploads. So these would be images and things that uploaded, and it goes back to 2017, which isn't, those will all be blank. But if we looked in here, this would have all those images. So if you run into a problem like Debbie is talking about, find someone that has access to, or you may have the login and password, get someone to help you download all of this information. Ideally, your site should have been backed up somewhere and you would have all of it, but this is a good resort if you don't have a good backup, and backups are something that we are going to talk about next week as well as backup plugins. Anything else? Okay, so I encourage you guys to go to our class website and go to the pages and find your practice page and play with it. You're not going to break anything. Play with the whole thing. Play with the, even if for some reason, which as an editor of the site, you wouldn't be able to, you broke the entire site. I've got it backed up. I'll put it back up. Not a big deal. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you stopping in for this class today. See you same time next week. Please feel free to email me all of the questions that you may have. I guess I don't need to screen share anymore. Please feel free to email me all of the questions that you may have, because I really want to make sure that we cover next week, in addition to what I have planned, things that are important to you. Okay.
Thank you so much, KJ. I also want to say, for anybody else interested, we have a whole entire webinar series that Miranda Gilbert with Girl Geek Communications will be doing this whole month as well. So we've got KJ's classes and Miranda's. So we're jam-packed. If you have anything that you're interested in or want to learn more about, I'm sure we're going to be covering a lot of it. We'll be talking actually about that, choosing the website platform next week on Tuesday at noon.
Wonderful.
So that will be going on. We also have, let's see if I can pull up all of them. We've got a whole big list. We have them from from June 1st to July 6th. So we've got e-commerce tools for small businesses, social media 101, go with Google to make your business work for you, part 1 and 2, and then choosing website platform.
Nice. Yay. Saren puts together some really good classes. I've taken some and taught some and have enjoyed it all.
I appreciate everyone I work with. That makes my job a lot easier.
Hey, it's all part of helping each other circle.
Yeah.
Okay, Debbie, Renee, Becca, thank you guys so much for being here. Please let me know if you have any questions about what we talked about today, and ask Saren any questions about anything else that she may be able to help you with.
Thank you, Renee, for checking with me as well. And thank you guys all for coming, and I can't wait to see you guys next week.
Sounds very good. Bye, everyone.
Bye.